Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Chris, aka Starrapter, joined by Ben for Outer Rim Transmission. This is episode 179. We may or may not have Milton join us at some point, but a good chance we won't see him because, there's an Eagles game going on right now and things are heating up. So his attention is focused on that, as a diehard fan would be. But fear not, he will be back on the podcast soon. Because today we are talking, and we're in the middle of the, I was about to say Andor season. Oh my goodness. I want it to be Andor, but I'm loving Skeleton Crew season. We're going to be discussing season 1, episode 3, titled Very Interesting as an Astrogation Problem. That's a mouthful for a title. We're going to get into all that and more on this week's podcast. But first, Ben, how's it going, man? Oh yeah, that's really cool how kids still like that movie from my past. Like, that's a previous generation movie. So the idea that the next generation is still interested in the Finding Nemo stories is freaking crazy, because I remember that movie came out when I was in middle school, and that was the go-to movie in 8th grade for the teachers to put on, substitute teachers to put on, so they didn't have to do anything. Simply put. Oh, a porg. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, it's nice to not have to deal with that. When we were kids, we didn't have to deal with that. Simply put, and we were better for it. We were much better for it. I almost was about to say I have nothing to talk about this week for my week in Star Wars, but that would be a lie, because literally after we did the podcast last week, I decided to do the Christmas tree. So yeah, we did the good old Star Wars Christmas tree. Of course, as always, I added a couple new ones to the mix. I added my convention exclusive Tusken Raider Hasbro Kenner figure, little miniature ornament, which is really cool. I think I sent you guys a picture at one point of me doing that, and then I also picked up they had at San Diego Comic-Con. Me and Matthew over on Tractor Beam, we each got like two mystery pop looking little ornaments, which are really fun because it's just like that mystery box with Star Wars ornaments. So I ended up getting a Wicket Ewok as well as a Boba Fett. Well, I was super hyped with the Boba Fett because they are cool. They are really cool. And of course I put them all up, and then the next day I was at work, and I work like right next to a Hallmark. I said, let me go in there and check out what they have. Because my mother, she always gets me one for Christmas, but I'm not allowed to know what it is until I open it on Christmas. But so I was looking around, and I was pretty surprised because I ended up picking up the Ghost myself. They have a Rebels Ghost with like the Rebels theme song that you could play, which is really cool. They also had a Thrawn, and I was like, oh, I want to get him, and of course he was sold out. There was a Sabine Wren. There was a bunch. Qui-Gon Jinn. Oh, there was a Darth Maul on the speeder bike, which, well, I have it in my background. I don't want to mess with the camera, but I have the Hasbro figure of it from San Diego exclusive, but they have that same thing in an ornament form, which looks really cool. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't think I have a Darth Maul if it's not the M&M Darth Maul that I had gotten like 30 years ago somehow. There's an M&M spiky head red and black Darth Maul. Oh, you know about this? So there you go. Sound off in the chat, everybody. If you are decorating a Star Wars Christmas tree, and what are some of your favorite ornaments? We would like to know. So yeah, the season is bright. Oh yeah, we also were watching the Star Wars Lego Holiday Special, and because my girlfriend had never watched that before, so it's great. Like out of all the Legos, it still is the best one for me, and they've done really good ones like the Mustafar one with Kylo Ren and the Summer one, and even Rebuild the Galaxy is really cool. But like this one is so nice because it goes into the what if of, oh, what comes after Rise of Skywalker? Oh, you have Rey training a young Finn, it's like as a Jedi Knight, and it's some really cool things that like the fans wanted to see, and hopefully we'll see it one day for sure. But yeah, it's just a really wholesome type of heartwarming adventure for sure, nonetheless. Oh yeah, I think I might go to it. I think that'll be our new thing. We're gonna decorate the tree with the Lego Holiday special on the TV there. Because why not? Why not? Yeah. So getting into the show proper, if you're listening, that's awesome. We go live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, breaking down this time of year the latest episodes of Star Wars Skeleton Crew. You can also follow us on any audio stream podcast app of your choice, whether it be Apple, whether it be Spotify, Find us just by simply searching Outer Rim Transmission. And on anything out there, please give us a rate and review so it makes us more available to the Star Wars fans out there as we continue to build a positive Star Wars community here on youtube.com/Starrapter. As far as videos for this week, not super much going on right now. I'm really putting my head down into some of these games I've been playing, so I'm not creating as much content as I did the week prior, which was kind of a whirlwind, but it's nice to take a break every once in a while. You can expect my usual comic book reviews. What I had this week was my review for the Battle of Jakku, Republic Under Siege #4. So go ahead and check that out. We have 4 more issues of the Battle of Jakku. Things are heating up, and then we'll see what the future has in store for the Star Wars comics. And that's basically going to bring us to the only thing we can discuss, and that's perfectly fine because we're going to jump right into Skeleton Crew. This is Season 1, Episode 3, once again titled Very Interesting as an Astrogation Problem. So in this story, in this episode, we pick up right where we left off in Episode 2. We have Jad Narud, or Jad Na Narud. I'll just call him, what is his actual name? I slipped. The Crimson Jack. I'm just going to call him Crimson Jack from now on. It's way more easy to pronounce that than the other name. But yeah, I'm really digging into this episode, man. We get to see the lore expanded. We get to see what's going on with that added. We get a little bit more hints of what's going on there. We get to move the story forward by a really thrilling chase on multiple points of the story. We get to see these really cool spaceships going around, getting more from the character of KB, who I thought up until now is simply just a side character, but it looks like KB is going to be even more at the forefront of the story, which is so good. I love that all these characters are really getting their time to shine in this. We got a new species in Kim. We've never seen that, like an owl-like species, as the thumbnail in this video is. But all around, it was really, really fun. What was your initial impression of Episode 3 there, Ben? Oh, hell yeah. I mean, when it gets down to it, this is the big break. This is the breaking point. And I wouldn't say the breaking point necessarily, but a test. It's a good test. Like, you have 2 episodes that come out. It's the premiere. Awesome. The premiere could be really, really good. But a lot of times we see in these series is you get into the middle parts and things start to trail off and you're like, all right, well, the premiere is really good. Like, this happened a lot in Star Wars Rebels, for instance. The premieres were awesome. The finales were also awesome. The middle bits were like, okay, what are we doing here sometimes? I'm happy to admit that I'm not getting that feeling at all from this episode. This episode not only pushed the story forward, it pushed the characters forward. It pushed the lore forward. It pushed the action to great heights for a streaming series. There's so much about this episode that really hits home the adventure vibe. I got vibes of Dark Crystal with the one character in that movie that is like the astrophysicist lady that takes out her eyeballs. Yes, I'm this is a PG movie that scared the living bejesus out of me as a kid with this. I think her name was like Oga or something. I got that feeling of like the out person, like doing the astrophysicist stuff with the little like solarium thing she was living in. But then I also got Treasure Planet vibes, which I had watched in the last year. Treasure Planet, they're going to find this planet full of treasure, and it's basically like Skeleton Crew in a way. So there's a lot of awesome callbacks now, just more than ET, more than Stranger Things, more than the Goonies. There's a lot of other influences that I've now been noticing in this show that is just like a great amalgamation of it all. So, and the big thing for me too, Ben, and I'll let you bounce off this one, is like Jude Law for me as this captain. He's really cool. I think he gave off like an Obi-Wan Kenobi like Padawan vibe. I guess just because he's got the short hair and he's got the English accent and he's going around, he's using the Force. I'm like, oh my gosh, this kind of reminds me of like a prequel Obi-Wan Kenobi in a little bit of way. But like, he works. Like the chemistry with him and the kids, it works. And if that doesn't work, then the show will fall apart. But on his first outing in this first episode, where we get to see him actually having conversations and discussions with these kids, I'm like, oh man, this is working seamlessly, you know? Yeah, in a way, there's a lot of characters that kind of scream out to me with Crimson Jack here. The idea, like, there's a lot of Jedi we knew about that survived the Purge, right? I mean, you go, the biggest one for me is obviously Obi-Wan. Then you also have Cal Kestis, right? He's almost in the same way, right? You see in the first few years of the Order 66, he's not even really using the Force at all. And when he does use the Force, that's when the Empire tracks him there on Braca when he's saving his Abedito friend. And then we go to a character such as, well, there's many. Shoot, I just had a brain fart on that one. Give me some other Order 66 Jedi, Ben, because I know, Kanan Jarrus, because Kanan Jarrus would use blasters, right? This would be like Kanan Jarrus if he like never like, revealed himself truly as a Jedi. That's what I imagine. Wait, the Aja guy? No, wait. Oh, Quinlan Voss. Oh, definitely, definitely. It's like the love language of Star Wars these days. We got one, as I said, in Fallen Order. We got one in Bad Batch. We got one in was it Book of Boba Fett? We got it. And Kano, yeah. I mean, any chance they get, Lucasfilm would throw it in here. So to understand the character of Crimson Jack, we're gonna have to know where he came from. How is he using the Force, and that's gonna spawn all the way back to him as a little Padawan. Now it'd be really cool to understand, like, oh, is he a Padawan of Shak Ti? Is he a Padawan of Kit Fisto? Is he a Padawan of Ki-Adi-Mundi? Like maybe he actually has a tie to like one of these established Jedi Masters. I think that would be kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the director for episode 6, who is it? I think it's Bryce Dallas Howard. So I could see her pulling that off. I could see that happening. Next episode, episode 4, is going to be a biggie. That's going to be directed by the Daniels that did the, not the Emmy, the Oscar Award Picture of the Year for Everything Everywhere All at Once with Michelle Yeoh as the star actor. So, oh man, and to be transparent, nobody has seen any episode from here on out. I know they did give out screeners to the press that featured the first 3 episodes. So everybody is truly going into these blind, and I'm guessing they wouldn't want to show the 4th episode because maybe it's so mind-blowingly good because those guys were in charge of it. So I do have high hopes, and if you look at the trailers, we're at that point where we've seen like 90%, maybe 95% of what we've seen in trailers in these first 3 episodes. So we're getting into uncharted territory. Things are going to start heating up here, and yeah, I mean that's excited to know that we're after next week. We're already going to be halfway through this darn series already. Yeah, because I found it interesting how they meet this new character of Kim, and then she's telling him he's basically just a fraud, and they're going, Nah, we trust him. We've been with him slightly longer than we've been with you at this point. We're gonna go ahead with this wild card and just hope for the best, sort of thing. So I thought that was an interesting decision because they really haven't been with this guy long at all. But then she's telling him stuff, but it's like, can they believe this person either? So it's like kind of like a kid. You know, when you're a kid, you're kind of more gullible. You might not let everything sink in as much as it should to comprehend your situation, especially with these kids. Like, their world has been turned upside down. They're in space. They didn't even know space exists practically. They think Alderaan is still around. They're so naive, and it's not really their fault. Part of it is the issue of the planet, but getting into that now with the whole idea of the jewels of the old republic and the great works and these planets that were treasure reliquaries and everything else. And what'd you think about all this lore that we suddenly got that's going to help us, like, kind of, you know, get a little bit more hints at what's happening here? Yep. 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 Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's cool because the way it's done is so magical. I can't find a better word for it, because you have all these things spinning around in that room, that chamber, and she's speaking about, oh, the times of old. And it gets me wondering, like, how old is this character? Is she like a Maz Kanata that has been around for like 1,000 years? Like, how does she know all this? Like, she could just find any planet. Then I'm thinking, like, what happened to all the other planets? Like, wait, why is Ad-Adin the last one? Did they literally get destroyed? Like, is there a planet destroying weapon? Like, what the heck is happening here? And then I'm wondering, going, okay, like, how far back did they get shut off from the rest of the galaxy? We still don't quite know that one yet. But for me, that was tantalizing bits of information that really go a long way with making me go, okay, they answered stuff a little bit more, but not everything is completely tied off with the bow. And now they have that information. Now I guess she got the coordinates to him. It's like, wait, what? Like, was it that easy to get the coordinates the whole time? Like, these people have been looking for, like, literally years and years and years. But I guess the reason why is because the pin, the brooch that Fern has, she's able to use that to, like, break down the compounds, I guess, in the computer system to, like, narrow down the search. But then she does say there's, like, a nebula, and it makes sense because when they look out the sky on the surface, like, you can't actually see the stars because there's, like, such a thick nebula around this planet to make it almost look like invisible. So, man, I love this. This is so cool. This is so cool to have a Star Wars story that is rather small in scope, but not really, because this is literally an entire planet, which could actually prove, like again, like, looking forward, like, how does this planet Ad-Adin play in the role of the larger scope of, like, the Mandoverse? Like, is it just the money that these pirates want? Is there something else here, or some kind of weaponry or something else? What is this great work? Are they building something. There's so much. I love it, man. Oh yeah. So getting into it, because we do actually get further connected to some more familiar sites, namely the New Republic. So the idea that Kim frantically like I thought it was pretty interesting. Like she's like, oh, this guy is obviously kidnapping these poor kids. Like, let me call the local authorities. And then that's the New Republic are essentially like the police officers. And it's actually noted. This is a cool little feature. I'm looking on the StarWars.com little like synopsis and breakdown of this episode. They literally call them the Rangers of the New Republic. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I actually was kind of happy we didn't see Carson Teva, because it's like half the time, every time you see an X-Wing, whether it be Mando, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, it's like, oh, there goes the same guy, there goes Carson Teva. It's like, okay, no, we don't have to see him right away, at least. Like, there's other X-Wing pilots out there. It's a large galaxy, it's a large outer rim. I don't even know if this place is in the outer rim, actually, now that I mention it. But it's like, all right, cool. So we got the iconic, the iconography. Oh my gosh, there we go. Sometimes I get the word right, sometimes I get it wrong. The pronunciation still eludes me, but we got the look of Star Wars with the classic X-Wings. Let me put it that way. It's like, okay. But then you get this amazing chase scene of them. What is this ship called? Because they actually haven't named it in the show. I know there's a Lego set that has the name of their ship. Darn it, it's well, we'll come back to it. You can look it up, I guess. But basically, what I like is we get I don't know, we get another A New Hope callback sort of thing, but it's a little bit different because now it's like the kids in the turrets, and they're not necessarily trying to kill these X-Wings, but it's kind of funny because it's like, okay, instead of TIE fighters that Luke and Han are shooting down, it's got Fern and Wim trying to stun the X-Wings, essentially. So it was a nice reverse, but like the way that they're flying out of there on that moon and they're like skirting, they do this cool trick. Like he's a really good pilot, being able to kind of like hover next to the surface of the moon and like splash all the sand up into their viewports. Like that was a cool trick. I like their ship interacting with the environment like that. That was a neat trick. And this guy, he's got some skills. Like he is a scoundrel. He's been living on the fringes for all these years. So, pirate would have a trick like that, and not just the force, but he's got straight up skill with the piloting. I yes, I was thinking of Onyx. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And even in the beginning, I loved how they were escaping the pirate like little shanty village there, and they were sneaking around the hallways. That really reminded me a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean at that point. Them just going around. He was like using the force to like trick these guys and stuff, and then they get in there, and it's just that perfect hijinks, that perfect adventure where it's like they're trying to get out of there and they're tied to the fuel lines, and it's like pulling all the other ships with them. That was so much fun. And then you got all these like little patrol craft coming out after them, and then they're like, "Oh, we have to go back for the droid." It's like he comes back with all these like little tiny craft trying to hunt them down, and it is, oh my gosh! And they end up like destroying half the freaking place when they fling the fuel line down on the place. Or does he? Right? That's the whole thing. Like he might know, but he's just so used to being the way he is. He likes to be the way he is. That's just how he is. He survived this way for this long. This is the image he has created for himself. He's not your usual mystic type, contemplative Jedi. He is more of, let me think with instinct and use my powers the way I want to use them. Use the Force as power. Yeah, kind of like, I mean, even look at his outfit. He's got the big like duster coat on, and it's like he is the most unique looking Jedi we've seen as far as like going against the norm, going against the grain. Yeah, so as far as, let's see, I'm going, okay, so I want to touch on this. So the idea that this guy Jad Nawud, there you go, that's how slow I have to pronounce his name to get it right. The idea that there's that entity, or there's that visage, or there's that alias, and then you also have Captain Silvio. Is it Silvo or Silvio? You have that image of him with the pirates. But then he also calls himself Crimson Jack, and it's even mentioned in a StarWars.com article. And if you would have gathered it yourself anyway, it's just like this guy, he's constantly kind kind of a con artist, if you will, just coming up with different ways of just staying ahead and staying alive by just constantly changing his names all over the place. So I'm wondering if if his name by the end of this is going to be somebody we know or somebody that has a last name that we're familiar with, or, but I thought it was interesting. So, because what set off the red flags for me is when he said his name was Crimson Jack, and Crimson Jack actually is a canonical character that is also a pirate in Star Wars. And he was featured in, I think it was a Star Wars Adventures from either IDW or Dark Horse. Dude looks nothing like John Wood though. The dude has like a big bushy red mustache and kind of like a balding guy with longer hair, and it's like, dude looks nothing like Jude Law, basically. And plus he's living in the First Order era in that story. So if you do the math, it's like, okay, that's definitely not right. So obviously that's not, and maybe there's been multiple Crimson Jacks at this point. Like it's just a moniker that people will just take up as respect to be like, yeah, I'm one of the most badass pirates. I'm Crimson Jack, you know? So I thought that's interesting. How this guy is just basically trying to fool everybody. And Kim knows basically the story behind him. She's known him before, so. Yes. Huh. No, I can hear you. It should be coming through. Yeah, it's coming through. Say something again. Yep, it's definitely coming through. Yeah, say something again. Oh yeah, we actually are having audio issues. Son of a gun. I realize now that there's a setting that is, so I can hear myself perfectly, but for whatever reason, I guess OBS is having trouble picking up your mic. Let me go ahead and see if I can pick something up on OBS here. Oh no, that's a shame. I don't know how that could have happened because everything is still the same on my end. I haven't changed any settings. Go ahead, say something, Ben. Yeah, it's not picking up any of your audio somehow. Oh no. Oh no, I could literally hear you as well. There's a problem with OBS not picking up any of your audio. Oh no. Basically, I don't know. This is going to be a lost episode, I guess. It was a matter of time before, I guess I'll put it up still, but it's like 45 minutes later. I don't understand how that could happen. Yeah. I don't know what we should do at this point. Yeah, we're still on right now. All right, yeah. So unfortunately, as you guys have probably noticed as you're listening to this for hopefully 45 minutes, you weren't listening to me just talking. I apologize for all this. This is why we have live listeners, so we can call stuff out. But it wasn't until too late, unfortunately, tonight. We had audio issues, but basically Ben gives this episode a 9 out of 10. Really had a good time with it. As we were talking, a lot of good vibes, a lot of cool callbacks to other IP and properties that we all really love, and just the idea of me and him were talking a lot about Jadon Nawud, about how his relationship is already a shining part of the show with him, and him like as this character that we don't really know what to believe, but he's got this chemistry as an actor with the other children actors that works so darn well. So our first episode we're actually seeing with these discussions happening. Plus, the visual effects are absolutely incredible. They're amazing. It's great to see this level of detail and quality in the show on something on Disney Plus, because sometimes I feel like, a lot of the times we're just like, oh, that doesn't look great. I feel like everything in this show has looked great. And I also have to, I'll have to give it an 8.5. I'm still waiting for that incredible, like, oh my gosh, this episode is awesome. But no, this series, as I said before, it's still shooting high. It's not just a miracle that it was the premiere that really pulled it off well. I think so far, I think we're going to see quality just being consistent more than anything else. Yeah, and we have Alex Elkins in the chat saying, episode 3 is my favorite episode by far. Loving the story and vibes. Can't wait for episode 4. Yeah, so there we go. We have all that going on with the episode. So, yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have to cut this one a little short because we got to figure out what we're doing with the tech issues here. But yeah, so unfortunately, couldn't hear Ben. Milton wasn't here. It was kind of a crazy episode. Hopefully you enjoyed me just talking one-sided. If you're even going to listen to this, I'll probably have to put a disclaimer in the beginning of the episode in the recording for the podcast, I suppose. But that's going to do it for us here, Outer Rim Transmission, episode 179. I was going to make a joke saying that, I almost had to do this podcast by myself tonight. But in a way, I basically did it by myself tonight. So there you go. I'm just talking to an imaginary person this entire 47 minutes. I hope you enjoyed that, everybody. So for Ben, for Milton, for Chris, aka Starrapter, that's going to do it for episode 179 of Outer Rim Transmission. Catch us next week for episode 4. Have a good one. May the force be with you always. End transmission.